Chapter 758. With the death of the Eel King, the rest of the eels seemed to have lost their backbone as they panicked and disappeared without a trace. It has been a long time since I last exercised. Too bad that it is still too short. Putting away his iron stick, Dongfang Hao looked like he was not done yet. This Dongfang Hao is indeed powerful. I have seen a lot of demi-king warriors, but none of them were this powerful. That was an eel king, and it was shattered into pieces with one attack. There are different levels of demi-king warriors as well. This Dongfang Hao should be a top demi-king warrior, right? Seeing that Dongfang Hao had killed the eel king with one stick, everyone started to discuss. A lot of beautiful girls looked over at him. Alright, let's keep going. The man with gray hair looked at Dongfang Hao a couple more times, and said with a loud voice. Under the lead of the man with gray hair, the team continued to dive deeper. However, compared to before, the team was no longer lifeless. There were a lot of people chatting, and most of the topics were about Dongfang Hao. Being young and powerful, he had become the center of attention without a doubt. Inside the team, Dongfang Hao said to Yi Chun and Morong Qingcheng, "This eel king is not that powerful. It is probably not more than 3,000 years old. Last time, I ran into a 5,000 years old eel king, and it took me a lot of effort to beat it." The lifespan of the beasts was usually longer than humans. Some of the turtle-type beasts could even live for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Humans would not be able to compete with them even if they tried. However, humans had their own advantages. Although their lifespan was short, and normal people could only live for 100 years at most, the world was fair. Humans had an extremely powerful comprehensive ability, which allowed them to learn the profound in a short amount of time. On the other hand, the beasts were a lot more stupid. Hundreds of years might not even be comparable to a few years of humans. Therefore, for the beasts, shape-shifting was very important. As long as they could shape-shift into a human, their comprehensive ability would start to approach that of humans. Yi Chen smiled lightly, but did not say anything. Neither of them said anything, which made Dongfang Hao a bit unhappy. His gaze moved over to Morong Qingcheng. "Miss Morong, the qi coming out of your body does not seem to be Zhen Yuan. I have been wondering about it for a long time. I wonder if you could tell me." Morong Qingcheng said. "No comment. What's there to hide? We're friends after all." Meng Xiaoling helped Dongfang Hao. Dongfang Hao looked at Morong Qingcheng with a smile, waiting for her answer. Yi Chen's expression turned cold. "You too. It's best not to ask about things you shouldn't ask. You." Dongfang Hao thought that his temperament was way better than normal people, but Yi Chen's attitude had pissed him off a lot. It was obvious that the latter did not take him seriously at all. If it were not for Morong Qingcheng, he would have lost it already. A mere peak-level late Sea of Souls realm warrior dared to talk to him like this. "You really overestimate yourself." Meng Xiaoling also couldn't stand Yi Chen's attitude and whispered, "It seems like we don't have anything in common to talk about. There's no need for us to get together." Morong Qingcheng frowned and pulled away from the two of them. Right then, Yi Chen also said, "You too, if there is nothing important in the future, you better not disturb us. I am not someone with a good temper." As he spoke, he leaned toward Morong Qingcheng. Dongfang Hao's expression was very bad, as bad as it could get. His eyes were extremely dark. "I am so pissed. These two guys really don't know what's good for them." Meng Xiaoling gritted her teeth. "They will regret it one day," Dongfang Hao said with a low voice. Everyone's diving speed was very fast. Soon, they had reached a depth of 180,000 meters. The water pressure here was unimaginable. It could definitely squeeze a huge piece of steel into a steel ball. Normal astral-reaching realm warriors would be reduced to a meatball. "We should be reaching the ruins soon. Everyone be careful," the man with gray hair said from the front. "Something is coming. It is the deep-sea piranhas." From far away, Yi Chen could already sense that there were huge amounts of deep ocean piranhas approaching. The piranhas here were very small, only the length of a middle finger. But for these kinds of vicious creatures that lived in groups, the smaller they were, the more destructive they would be. When tens of thousands of piranhas rushed over, it would definitely be a catastrophic disaster. Soon, The others had also sensed the arrival of the deep-sea piranhas. They were all breathing heavily, looking very nervous. Huh. Without me, how are you going to block them out? Dongfang Hao had seen how horrifying the deep-sea piranhas were. This kind of piranhas did not have high individual battling power, and a clasping Yuan realm warrior would be able to handle them. But they had two special features. One was their extremely hard body, and the other was their extremely sharp teeth. Even Sea of Souls realm warriors would not be able to kill them with one attack. Their teeth were sharp enough to pierce through Sea of Souls realm warriors' protective Zhen Yuan layer. Once the deep-sea piranhas gathered into a large group, it would be quite a threat to even half-step king warriors. This is so troublesome. The man with gray hair reached his soul power into his storage ring, looking for something. The deep-sea piranhas were extremely fast, and within a couple of blinks of an eye, they had already arrived. Meanwhile, the man with gray hair threw out a green pellet, and beams of green chi spread out. Unfortunately, it did not spread out that fast, far slower than the attacking speed of the piranhas. All of a sudden, the number of astral-reaching realm warriors that had died had reached 2 digits. Facing the extremely cruel creatures like the deep-sea piranhas, the protective Zhen Yuan layer of the astral-reaching realm warriors would be as fragile as tofu. Yi Chen's side was also being attacked by a huge amount of piranhas. Boom, boom, boom. Morong Qingqing's protective demon power was even more powerful than a half-step king warrior's protective Zhen Yuan layer. The piranhas would not be able to break through it within a short period of time, and were bounced back one after another. Seeing this, Dongfang Hao was a bit surprised. He had planned to go up and help out, letting them know who would be able to save her. But it did not really matter. If Morong Qingqing could survive, Yi Chen might not be able to. Even if he could survive, he would be embarrassed and become a laughingstock. Unfortunately, he had underestimated the speed of Yi Chen's sword. Any of the deep-sea piranhas that got close to Yi Chen were cut in half. All of a sudden, there were at least hundreds of deep-sea piranhas that got close. But in the next second, hundreds of them had been cut in half. It was almost impossible to see how Yi Chen had attacked. Such a fast sword speed. Dongfang Hao had to admit that he had underestimated Yi Chen. Brother Hao, he does not seem to be easy to mess with. Meng Xiaoling was even more shocked than Dongfang Hao. She had not seen anyone's sword speed that was as fast as Yi Chen's. It was not hard to imagine how shocked she was. Taking a deep breath, Dongfang Hao said, "Fast sword speed is nothing. I am a half-step king warrior, and he is only at peak level late Seas of Souls realm. He would not be my opponent. No matter how fast his sword speed is, would he be able to break through my defense? I would only need one attack to tear him into pieces." The green aura emitted by the green pill finally pervaded the air. When the deep-sea piranhas smelled this aura, they immediately rushed over like moths to a flame. The deep-sea piranhas in the lead were the fastest, and swallowed the green pill in one gulp. Something horrifying happened. The other piranhas saw the leading piranha swallow the pellet, and their eyes turned red. They dismembered the other piranhas, and started to fight for the bodies. After swallowing the bodies, even more piranhas could not stand it anymore, and started to eat their own kind. Just like that, the number of piranhas started to decrease. Eventually, there was only one piranha left with a big belly. It swam back and forth before it disappeared completely. What kind of pellet is this? It is so scary. Everyone looked at each other. The man with gray hair said with satisfaction, "This is the piranha killer that our Blackwater Alliance has developed. Don't think that it is just a small pellet. The materials used to make it would be millions of top-rank spirit stones. It could kill millions of piranhas. Right now we have to use it because we have no other choice." The materials used to make the piranha killer pellet were extremely rare, and each of them would be priceless. Then, a master alchemist would extract the essence of the pellet, and it would take 81 days to make. Moreover, the failure rate was very high as 50%. I wonder if your alliance would sell this kind of piranha killer pellet? Someone asked. As long as you can afford the top-rank spirit stones, we can negotiate. I really can't afford it. One piranha killer fish was worth millions of top-rank spirit stones. Only a few Sea of Souls realm warriors would be able to afford it. Even a half-step king warrior would only have that much wealth, and it would be impossible for them to buy one. Although there were piranha fish killers, everyone had still suffered heavy casualties. Roughly estimating, at least 40 to 50 astral-reaching realm warriors had been killed, and more than 10 Sea of Souls realm warriors had been killed. Losing a quarter of their force all of a sudden had made the gray-haired man look very bad. Yichen, don't you think it is strange? This Blackwater Alliance warrior seems to care a lot about the casualties. Normally, there is no need for him to care. Morong Qingqing could tell that something was not right. It is a bit strange indeed, and it is not just this. For example, the missions that the Blackwater Alliance has given out, and the Zhenyuan Crystal Exchange, there are a lot of them. Yichen had already sensed that something was not right about the Crystal Island, but there was no point in just guessing. It seems like we can only take it one step at a time. Morong Qingqing nodded. Don't worry. As long as we do not run into life and death realm warriors, no matter how many enemies we run into, we will still be able to escape. This was also the reason why Yichen did not say anything. We are here. After diving down for a few thousand meters, the man with gray hair let out a breath and said happily. In front of everyone was a massive entrance at the bottom of the ocean. It was surrounded by seaweed, and one would not be able to see it without looking carefully. Let's go in. The man with gray hair led the way and jumped in. Let's go. Some of the people frowned a little before following him in. Hee. The evil-looking man seemed to have sensed something wrong as well, so he slowed down on purpose and ran behind the group. Be careful. Yi Chun held Morong Qingqing's hand as the two disappeared into the pitch-black entrance at the bottom of the ocean. The entrance was very deep, as if it was a huge crack at the bottom of the ocean. No one knew where it led to. If it were not for the fact that there were a lot of people, normal people would not dare to come in, and would have left a long time ago. After about 10 minutes, everyone's eyes brightened. They had finally passed through the entrance and arrived at the inside of the ocean. Chapter 759. This place is a bit weird. Yichen looked around and said, Weird? I can't tell. This is indeed the entrance to an ancient ruin. Morong Qingqing shook her head. She really couldn't tell anything. Don't you feel that this place doesn't have the feeling of being sealed for a long time? It seems like people come here often and destroy the ancient qi here. Hearing Yichen's words, Morong Qingqing looked pensive. She was not as meticulous as Yichen, but she was not stupid either. Once there is any movement, we will leave immediately. Yichen said with a serious tone. Yeah. Morong Qingqing nodded and carefully walked beside Yichen. Everyone follow behind me. Don't break the formation. The gray-haired man's voice was heard from the front. Aren't we looking for the ancient ruin? Now that we have found it, why are we not going back? Someone mumbled. The top master-level warrior next to the gray-haired man said coldly. If you don't want to, you can go back now. I won't stop you. Just saying. The person who was talking shut his mouth immediately. The ancient ruin was huge. First, there was a stone hall, and then a straight tunnel. Oil lamps were lit on both sides of the tunnel, as if they were paving the way for the group. After 15 minutes, the group finally passed through the tunnel and arrived at a wide flat ground. In front of the flat ground was a huge stone door, and in the center of the flat ground was a six-pointed star. Inside the six-pointed star, there were many complicated runes. These runes were not for decoration. They were filled with traces of energy aura, and from time to time, streams of light would flash through. Boom! All of a sudden, a gate fell down from the tunnel behind the group, locking them inside. What is going on? What happened? Damn it! We are locked inside. The situation happened too suddenly. Many people were still in a state of confusion, but more people were panicking. They were 180,000 meters under the sea. No one wanted to be trapped here and unable to get out, especially when they were fine just now. Damn it! Isn't it just a gate? What is there to be surprised about? Watch me break it. A master-level Sea of Souls realm walked out. He raised his right hand and tightened his fist. All of a sudden, a red flame wrapped around his fist before he smashed it heavily onto the gate. Pa! The gate did not move at all. Not even a single stone chip splashed out. What? This Sea of Souls Realm Master level warrior did not believe it, so he attacked the gate crazily. His fiery red fist shadows were like illusions, landing on the center of the gate. Everyone attacked together. Seeing that they couldn't break the gate, someone called for everyone to attack together. 1, 2, 3 attack. Boom, boom, boom. Over 100 attacks landed on the gate, and the gate finally shook a little, causing some dust to fall off. Unfortunately, it was still far from breaking the gate. Get out of my way. The fierce-looking man parted the crowd and walked out. Can you do it alone? Some people were puzzled. Let him do it. Although we have a lot of attacks, many of our unique martial arts have been scattered by other Jin Yuan streams, so we can't display our full power. I see. I had forgotten about it. Understanding the crux of the matter, everyone's gazes converged on the fiendish man. Among them, there were only 3 half-step kings, and the fiendish man was one of them. Although they didn't know the fiendish man's strength, it shouldn't be too bad. A half-step king was a half-step king after all. Standing in front of the gate with rapt attention, the fierce-looking man took a deep breath. As he inhaled, the surrounding space began to distort slightly. Clouds of light black air gushed out, and his aura rose steadily, reaching a terrifying level. Break! The man roared as he threw out a palm blade attack toward the gate. Boom! The frequency of the gate shaking was obviously much higher than before. Dust was blown out from the corner, blocking everyone's sight. So sturdy. The man's expression changed. Let's join hands. Dongfang Hao could not stand it anymore, so he stood next to the man. If it could be broken, we would not have been lured here. Yi Chen shook his head as he glanced over at the man with gray hair, and the other two. The man with gray hair was very sensitive to gazes, so he turned his head to look for the source of the gaze. However, Yi Chen had already looked away. Mad wave cut. Cracking ground attack. The man and Dongfang Hao performed their top martial arts, attacking the gate together. Dong! The gate shook violently, and cracks started to appear on it. It is about to break. Everyone was overjoyed. Let's do it again, Dongfang Hao said to the man. All right. The man was in a good mood. As long as he could break this gate, he would be able to get out. Huh. The man with gray hair sneered secretly, seeming to be very disdainful of everyone thinking that they could break the gate. How is this possible? Under everyone's incredulous gazes, the fiendish man and Dongfang Hao's combined attacks didn't even have the qualifications to make the gate shake. It turned out that the gate was emitting a layer of dark light that bounced off the attacks and instantly acted on Dongfang Hao and the fiendish man. Pooh! Pooh! Caught off guard, Dongfang Hao and the man both puked out a mouthful of blood and were blown backward. Their feet rubbed against the ground for a long time before stopping. How can this be broken? Dongfang Hao's expression was ugly. Exhaling, Yi Chen said, Don't waste your energy, you two. Since we've been lured here, there's no way we can escape. What do you mean? Dongfang Hao stared at Yi Chen with a sharp gaze. Yi Chen said, Do you really think that we're trapped here because of the relic's mechanism, and not someone else's doing? You're saying that someone brought us here on purpose. The man came to a realization. We'll have to ask him. Yi Chen pointed at the gray-haired man. Insolence. You're courting death. The two men beside the gray-haired man rebuked Yi Chen. Yi Chen sneered. Since you've brought us here, you've succeeded. Why don't you take off your mask? Haha. The gray-haired man guffawed, his laughter filled with pride and admiration. I didn't expect you to be so meticulous. How did you figure it out? The gray-haired man asked. I only suspected at first, but as soon as we entered the relic, I began to suspect you. Oh, why didn't you run then? Everyone is curious. As the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. Plus, I thought running would have been useless. You guys must have had a backup plan. You're right. The moment you stepped into the relic, you couldn't get out. Bringing you here was the second step. I have to admire you. You were the only one who noticed the anomaly among so many people. The others kept it to themselves. Even if they had suspicions, they wouldn't have targeted me. So strength isn't everything. Your ability to survive is stronger than everyone else's. The gray-haired man admired Yi Chen. Of course, he didn't know Yi Chen's strength yet, thinking that Yi Chun was merely meticulous. No need to admire me. In fact, I should admire your Blackwater alliance. With such a grand plan, it's obvious that you want to capture everyone in one fell swoop. If I'm not wrong, your plan has something to do with Devouring Island. Am I right? Yi Chun smiled. Hiss. Not only the gray-haired man, even the two people next to him sucked in a breath of cold air. With just a few clues, Yi Chun was able to figure out their plan. This could not be described as meticulous. It was simply frightening. Is what he said true? The ferocious-looking man's face was filled with killing intent. Ridiculous. You're still asking me now. The gray-haired man sneered. You're courting death. I'll tear you apart. The ferocious-looking man wasn't a good person. He had always been the one making fun of others. Since when did he become the one being made fun of? This made him feel very wronged. Boom. His right hand formed a blade, and a light black saw appeared on the edge of his palm. The ferocious-looking man slashed at the gray-haired man, and the two top master-level masters. Boom. That attack was blocked out by a layer of blue membrane. The ground under the gray-haired man, and the other two moved automatically, bringing them into the wall. The gap in the wall was a blue membrane. It seemed like even 10 half-step king warriors wouldn't be able to break it open. The gray-haired man and the other two could see Yi Chun and the rest through the blue membrane, and Yi Chun and the rest could see them as well. You think that I'll give you the chance to attack me? The gray-haired man said with a mocking expression. Fuck your ancestors. The fierce-looking man repeatedly attacked the blue membrane, causing it to ripple like water. Unfortunately, the defensive power of the blue membrane was far beyond imagination. No matter how much strength the fierce-looking man exerted, he couldn't shake it in the slightest. It was all in vain. Everyone, let's go. After everyone knew that the gray-haired man and the Blackwater Alliance were the masterminds, they were all furious. All of them wanted to eat the three alive. Boom, 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 boom. The tide-like energy flooded the thin blue membrane like a vast ocean. Dongfang Hao and Meng Xiaoling had also joined in the attack. Only Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing stood aside, and did not do anything, watching coldly. After a long while, the qi disappeared, and the blue membrane was not damaged at all. It's useless. Since you're here, don't waste your time. Yi Chun said calmly. Since you already knew, why didn't you tell us? I too the third will teach you how to behave. I will also keep your girlfriend safe for you. The ferocious-looking man, Tu Laosan, had a belly full of anger. Since he could not do anything to the gray-haired man, he shifted his attention to Yi Chun. Right then and there, he was ready to kill Yi Chun and have some fun before the disaster came. As he spoke, an evil smile appeared on his face, as if Morong Qingqing was already his, and there would be no accidents. Seeking death. A murderous look flashed across Dongfang Hao's eyes, but he quickly hid it. He was happy that Tu the Third would kill Yi Chun. After Yi Chun was killed, he would be able to openly save Morong Qingqing, killing two birds with one stone. It seems like you want to die. Yi Chun's expression turned cold. The murderous look on his face was a few times more intense than Tu the Third's. Many people around him hurriedly took a few steps back, shocked by Yi Chun's murderous look. Chapter 760. This young man, his killing intent is so thick. Why is it so much thicker than a half-step king warrior? Yeah, it is indeed confusing. What is the use of thick killing intent? It is still power that matters. I do not think he will win. I am afraid that he will be killed within 1 or 2 attacks. Too bad for a beauty. Although everyone was shocked by Yi Chun's killing intent, they did not think that Yi Chun would be able to escape from Tu Laosan's attack. The gap between the two was just too huge. Do I want to die? Tu Laosan sneered. All right, I will not kill you right away. I will let you taste the feeling of being dead. Are you done? Now, you can die slowly, very slowly. Yi Chun suddenly took out his Thunder Disaster sword and threw out a sword attack. Shoo! Blood spilled everywhere as Tu Laosan's entire right arm was chopped off. Because it was so sudden, the blood shot out 8 meters away like a fountain. What? Everyone was shocked. This result was completely different from what they had expected. Tu Laosan was a half-step king warrior after all, but his arm had been chopped off by Yi Chun. Impossible. Tu Laosan roared, his face pale. It was hard to tell if it was because of the pain, shock, or both. Nothing is impossible. Yi Chen threw out another sword attack. It was so fast that Tu Laosan did not even have the time to react before his left arm was chopped off. Spare my life. I promise I will never mess with you again. Tu Laosan was scared. Although everyone had fallen into the trap set by the Blackwater Alliance, at least there was still a chance of survival. You are too stupid. Yi Chen did not show any mercy as he lifted up his Thunder Disaster sword. I will fuck your whole family. Everyone, let's kill him together. Tu Laosan's eyes were filled with despair as he yelled crazily. Unfortunately, not many people listened to him. Fighting against Yi Chen right now would just be suicide. Shaking his head, Yi Chen held the Thunder Disaster sword and threw out a Thunder Devour. Tu Laosan, who had lost both his arms, was unable to fight back and was directly swallowed by the Black Thunder Ball. The Thunder Ball twisted and expanded, producing a series of intense explosions. At the center of the explosions, Tu Laosan's 7 orifices were discharging electricity. His skin was charred, cracked, and carbonized at a visible speed. Bang! Tu Laosan fell to the ground, and his body was smashed into pieces like charcoal. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, no one would believe that this was a human corpse. Dongfang Hao looked at Tu Laosan, who had been smashed into pieces, then looked at Yi Chen. His face looked very bad. All the way here, he had thought that Yi Chen was just a peak-level late seas of Soul's Realm warrior. Even if he could fight beyond his realm, he would only be a normal half-step king warrior, which would be a huge gap between them. However, he had not expected that Yi Chen's battling power would be a couple of times more powerful than he had imagined. Even someone as powerful as Tu Laosan could not last 3 sword attacks, although it was partly due to his carelessness. So he's actually this powerful. Meng Xiaoling murmured unconsciously. Inside the blue film on the wall, the man with gray hair said, I did not expect that you would be the most powerful warrior in this team. What is the use of being powerful? I was still tricked by your Blackwater Alliance. Yi Chen put his sword back into its scabbard and said lightly, Hee hee. The man with gray hair laughed. You don't seem to be nervous at all. If being nervous is useful right now, I would not mind being nervous for a bit. As he spoke, Yi Chen looked around. Eventually, his eyes landed on the hexagram under his feet. It had flashed for a second, and if one did not look carefully, they would not have noticed it at all. The man with gray hair saw that Yi Chen had noticed it, so he said, It is useless. In a while, you will all be devoured by the devouring island, and this place is one of the connecting points. Indeed, after the man with gray hair said that, everyone realized that the Blackwater Alliance was indeed connected to the devouring island. As for what the connection was, they did not know, and they did not want to know at the moment. Right then a lot of people started to despair. They wished that they could go back in time and never go to the Crystal Island again. Ooh! The hexagram emitted a powerful energy ripple. This energy ripple was even more vast than the Zhen Yuan released by dozens of half-step kings. As the hexagram was completely activated, the stone door in front of everyone opened with a loud rumble. Inside was an energy whirlpool that crazily revolved, devouring everything in the stone room. No. Without any time to react, at least half of the people were sucked in by the energy whirlpool. It was like a black hole, and no one knew what was on the other side. The sucking power of the energy whirlpool was way too powerful. Even though Yi Chen and the rest tried their best, they would only be sucked in a little bit later. Waiting until the whirlpool disappeared, the stone door closed. The blue layer on the wall disappeared on its own, and the man with gray hair and the other 2 walked out. Another batch. It is so easy. The top master level warrior on the left of the man with gray hair laughed. You think it is easy? We, the Blackwater Alliance, are under a lot of pressure. Some of the life and death realm warriors are getting more and more greedy. If we do not give them enough Zhen Yuan crystals, these things will be exposed. By then, we will be in trouble as well. The man with gray hair said, No matter how big their appetite is, they should have a bottom line, right? After all, our Blackwater Alliance has a lot of life and death realm warriors as well. Another top master level warrior said, What do you know? The world of king warriors is not that easy to understand. That's true. Let's go. Let's go back and hand in the mission. This was a strange and dazzling world. As far as the eye could see, there was a rainbow-colored chaotic sky, pitch-black seawater, and 6 small islands that formed a circle. There was nothing else. Where is this? In the sky, Yi Chun and the rest looked confused. Who cares where we are? As long as we are not dead, it is good. After a moment of confusion, everyone looked extremely happy. They thought that they were going to die for sure, but they did not expect to survive. This was more important than anything else. Don't be so happy yet. Yi Chun did not think that the Blackwater Alliance would be so kind. He had a feeling that not dying would be even scarier than dying. At least if they died, everything would be over. If they did not die, who knew what would be waiting for them? Just when everyone was preparing to go to the island, the surreal space in front of them vibrated. A transparent human figure appeared, with a pair of transparent wings on his back. Hello, this is the Devouring Island. You can call me the Holy Spirit, the transparent human figure said to everyone. Holy Spirit, what does that mean? You do not need to know this. Next, I will tell you the rules of the Devouring Island. The rule is to provide Jin Yuan crystals. Astral-reaching realm warriors will have to provide 10 Jin Yuan crystals per month. Sea of Souls realm warriors will have to provide 50 Jin Yuan crystals per month. And half-step king warriors will have to provide 100 Jin Yuan crystals per month. Hey, where do we get the Jin Yuan crystals? Someone asked. The transparent human figure said without any emotion. On the Devouring Island, you can make your own Jin Yuan crystals. You can try it now. Make your own Jin Yuan crystals? Most of the people did not believe it. Normally, only a small number of half-step king warriors could make Jin Yuan crystals. They could not do it at all. But, out of curiosity, everyone started to try it out. We can really make Jin Yuan crystals. Not long after, someone cried out in alarm. Within a short period of time, everyone realized that as long as they tried to compress their Jin Yuan, it would start to crystallize. Some of the different elements inside would be removed automatically, turning it extremely pure. Of course, because of the short period of time, the Jin Yuan crystals that they made would be very unstable. Once they lost control, they would shatter immediately. We can really make Jin Yuan crystals? Could it be that the Blackwater Alliance got their Jin Yuan crystals from here? Bastard! The Blackwater Alliance tricked us to come here. They must be making us work for them. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Thinking that the Holy Spirit was not that scary, a Sea of Souls realm master-level warrior said, We can make Jin Yuan crystals. Why should we give them to you? This is the rule of the Devouring Island. The Holy Spirit answered, Bullshit rule. Let me ask you, how do we get out? The Holy Spirit said, Getting out is very easy. Astral-reaching realm warriors, hand over 10,000 Jin Yuan crystals. Sea of Souls realm warriors, 50,000, and half-step king warriors, 100,000. Astral-reaching realm warriors, hand over 10,000 Jin Yuan crystals. May I ask, how many Jin Yuan crystals can an astral-reaching realm warrior make in a month? 15. 15? Are you messing with us? It has been 60 to 70 years since we handed over 10,000. This is the rule here. Bullshit rule. Let me ask you, how do we get out? A lot of people had a vicious look on their faces. Hand over all the Jin Yuan crystals, and you will be able to get out. The Holy Spirit's tone did not change at all. Go die. 3 of them attacked the Holy Spirit together. Pooh, pooh, pooh. The Holy Spirit flapped its wings, and the 3 of them puked out blood. On the Devouring Island, even life and death realm warriors would not be my opponent. Do not waste your energy. Also, you have to remember, if you are lazy and do not hand over all the Jin Yuan crystals after 1 month, you will be punished by me. Besides that, you are not allowed to kill anyone here. The mission of the killer will fall on you. In other words, you can get out after handing over 10,000 Jin Yuan crystals, but if you kill someone with the same cultivation as you will have to hand over 20,000. Hearing the Holy Spirit, Yi Chun frowned. Something is wrong. Yi Chun, what is wrong? Morong Qingqing asked. Yi Chun said, Since we can get out after handing over the Zhenyuan crystals, then the thing about the devouring island would be exposed for sure. But judging from the situation outside, the devouring island is still a legend. You mean once we get in we can't get out? Very likely. That Holy Spirit is lying to us. I don't know about that. We will see. The devouring island was too strange, and even Yi Chen had no clue about it. Only by observing for a while would he be able to figure it out. Knowing that the Holy Spirit was unbeatable, everyone had a bitter look on their faces. According to the Holy Spirit, the devouring island was like a prison where they had to work. If they did not work, then they would be punished. Plus, with so many Zhenyuan crystals, how long would it take to hand them over? Chapter 761. You all appeared from this direction. From now on, you will be working on the number 3 devouring island. The Holy Spirit pointed at the island before disappearing. Should we go? A lot of people were hesitating. What else can we do? Do you have a way to leave? Let's go. Let's see how it goes first. Just like that, everyone arrived at the number 3 devouring island. The number 3 devouring island was not that big, and could only be considered as a small island. There were more people on the island than he had expected, numbering in the tens of thousands. A small portion of them were training in the valley in the center of the island, while the rest were either making Zhenyuan crystals in their own caves, or chatting and practicing martial arts outside. Look, another group of unlucky people. I guess they were also tricked by the Blackwater Alliance. So many people. They must have been tricked. The people who were chatting on the island looked at Yi Chen and the rest, their tone carrying a hint of gloating and numbness. The Blackwater Alliance had indeed tricked a lot of people. Morong Qingqing saw that there were tens of thousands of people on the island, and she was a bit surprised. It should be known that there were 6 islands on the devouring island, and there would be more than 100,000 people on the 6 islands. Among them, the lowest cultivation would be at the astral reaching realm, while the highest would be at the half-step king warrior level. If they could be controlled, it would definitely be a horrifying power. After a long time, it is not strange for there to be this many people. Yi Chen rolled his eyes and said, "It seems like some of them have been on the island for years. Although they are not dead yet, they are no different from the walking dead." Hearing him, Morong Qingqing looked over the people on the island, and realized that there would always be a couple of people who had a blank expression on their faces. It seemed like they did not care about anything, and their eyes were always losing focus. Will we end up like this? A bit of anxiety appeared on Morong Qingqing's face. Huh. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen sneered. "If you want to lock me up, you will have to see if this place can hold me." The Holy Spirit said that even life and death realm warriors would not be able to do anything to him. But there were no life and death realm warriors on the island. Therefore, even if life and death realm warriors could not do anything to the Holy Spirit, they would not be afraid of him. Therefore, as long as one could become a life and death realm warrior, there would be a chance to get out. Of course, that would be in the future. Hey, you newcomers might not know about the little rules of the island yet. I am a nice guy, so I will tell you about them. A tall and sturdy-looking man walked out. First, on the devouring island, everyone has their own cave. If you want a place to rest, then you will have to build your own cave. The distance between your cave and other people's cave cannot be more than 50 meters, so it cannot be too big. Second, there is a training holy ground in the center of the island. Besides the last day of the week, you can go there to train at any time. Of course, you will have to line up. Third, the last day of the month is the time to hand in the Zhenyuan crystals. Do not forget about it. As for where to hand it in, you do not need to worry about it. When the cave is built, a stone altar will appear, and you only need to put the Zhenyuan crystals on it. Alright, that is all. You should go find a place to build your cave. The rocks here are very hard. The simple and honest man waved his hand. Because the island was not that big, there were only a couple of small mountains on the island, which were almost like beehives. There was no place to build a cave at all. Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing had chosen a lot of places before they finally managed to dig out a cave on a slope. The reason why they chose to build it on the rocks was because Yi Chun realized that the rocks on the island were very hard and could block out soul power. Sea of Souls Realm Warrior's soul power would only be able to spread out 10 meters, and half-step king warriors would not be able to go beyond 30 meters. Even though Yi Chun's soul power was very powerful, it could only reach 50 meters. Once the cave was built, a wave of vibration appeared in the surreal space, and a stone altar slowly landed down. This devouring island seems to have its own natural rules. Yi Chun looked like he was thinking about something. What do you think the Holy Spirit is? Morong Qingqing thought about the existence of the Holy Spirit. Yi Chun said, "It should be the manager of this world. As for whether or not it is a living being, I do not know. But I have this feeling that this place has a very powerful background. So powerful that even life and death realm warriors are afraid of it. Otherwise, that Holy Spirit would not have said that even life and death realm warriors could not do anything to it. That is really bad." Morong Qingqing frowned. "Today is only the first day, so I do not know anything yet. But I will find out in the future." Yi Chun took out the puppet house from his storage ring and put it in the middle of the cave. He did not want to sleep on the hard ground. Astral-reaching realm warriors could make about 15 Jin Yuan crystals every month, which was an average of 1 every 2 days. Sea of Souls realm warriors could make Jin Yuan crystals 5 times more than astral-reaching realm warriors. They could make 75 crystals every month, which was an average of 5 every 2 days. In the next 4 days, Yi Chun had made 11 Jin Yuan crystals, which was higher than average. As for Morong Qingqing, she had made 15 demon power crystals, which was a lot more powerful than Yi Chun, since the demon power was more powerful than Zhen Yuan in the first place. "I wonder if the demon power crystals would be useful?" Morong Qingqing said. Yi Chun said, "On the devouring island, there are not only humans but also beasts. The beasts can make the demon power crystals. Since the demon power crystals are useful, then the demon power crystals should be useful as well." "I hope so." Morong Qingqing nodded. "Let's go. There is a holy place for training in the middle of the island. Let's go check it out." Making 11 Zhen Yuan crystals in 4 days meant that they could make at least 80 in a month. Sea of Souls realm warriors would only need to hand over 50 Zhen Yuan crystals, which would be more than enough. "Yeah." Morong Qingqing and Yi Chun walked out of the cave together. The island was not that big. Once the two walked out of the cave, they could see the people on the island. "I have only made 16 Zhen Yuan crystals this month. 10 of them need to be handed over, and 3 of them need to be handed over to the manager of the Blackwater Alliance. There are only 3 left, and you want to take 2 of them at once? I have worked hard this month for nothing." Not far away, an astral-reaching realm warrior yelled, "I don't care how many Zhen Yuan crystals you have made this month. If I ask you to hand them over, then hand them over. Otherwise, I will take away all the Zhen Yuan crystals you have, and let you be punished by the Holy Spirit. I believe a lot of people know how painful it is. Do you want to try it?" It was a middle-aged man with extremely long hair. Behind him, there were dozens of Sea of Souls realm warriors, looking very aggressive. "Don't push it too far." The astral-reaching realm warrior's tone softened. "I am bullying you. Hurry up. I do not have time to waste with you," the man said impatiently. Eventually, he still handed over the 2 Jin Yuan crystals and left angrily. When will it end?" Not far away from Yi Chun, an elder shook his head. Yi Chun turned his head to look. "Senior, what is going on? What else could it be? It is just the dark power here." The elder's cultivation was not weak, being at late Sea of Souls realm. "Dark power? Besides the Blackwater Alliance, there are other dark power parties here?" Morong Qingqing did not understand. The elder explained, "The Blackwater Alliance is the biggest manager on the devouring island besides the Holy Spirit. All 6 islands are under their control, and there are a lot of dark power parties on each island. Our number 3 devouring island is divided into 30 regions, and each region is ruled by a group of dark power parties. This region of ours is called the Black Mountain region, and the leader of the dark power party, there is a half-step king warrior called the Tough King. His rule is that as long as one lives in the Black Mountain region, and has an astral-reaching realm cultivation, they have to hand over 2 Zhenyuan crystals every month. Sea of Souls Realm Warriors, 10 crystals, and Half-Step King Warriors are exempted. Does the Blackwater Alliance not care about it? Morong Qingqing continued to ask. The elder made a face. Jackals of the same tribe. Actually, the dark power parties on the Devouring Island are all accepted by the Blackwater Alliance for better management. Otherwise, if there is a rebellion, it would be a headache for the Blackwater Alliance as well. I see. Yi Chen nodded slightly. You are new here as well, right? The elder saw that Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing were not familiar with them. Yes. Right now is the beginning of the month, so no one will come to collect your Zhenyuan crystals. But after this month ends, you will have to face this. Remember, do not fight against the tough king and his power, and definitely do not fight against the power of the Blackwater Alliance. Otherwise you will only suffer. Thank you, Senior, for the reminder. Yi Chen held his fists together as he walked toward the center of the island with Morong Qingqing. On the way, Morong Qingqing said, This devouring island is more chaotic than I thought. The island is divided into 30 regions, and each region has at least 700 to 800 people. 90% of them are astral-reaching realm warriors, and they would be able to collect 1,000 Zhenyuan crystals every month. Sea of Souls realm warriors would be around 10%, and they would be able to collect 1,000 Zhenyuan crystals every month. So, it would be more than 2,000 in total. It would be quite a fortune. Yi Chen shook his head. It is not that simple. The Blackwater Alliance would not let the tough king get all the benefits alone. It would most likely be the Blackwater Alliance and the tough king's power. The training place was in the valley in the center of the island. When Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing arrived, the valley was already full, and there were a lot of people lining up outside. So many people. Morong Qingqing saw that there were more than 100 people in the line. Let's go back first. Yi Chen did not really care about the training place. He was only one step away from the half-step king warrior realm, and so was Morong Qingqing. Training alone would not do them much good. When Yi Chen and the rest arrived at the island, it was the beginning of the month. The Zhenyuan crystals that they had made were all stored in their storage rings, and it was not time to hand them in yet. Within a blink of an eye, 20 days had passed, and the end of the month was getting closer and closer. During this period of time, Yi Chen had made 55 Zhenyuan crystals, and Morong Qingqing had made 75. It had already exceeded the requirement by quite a bit. Can you give me a break for this month? I have used a lot of Zhenyuan crystals to accumulate Zhenyuan. By the end of the month, I will only have 60 Zhenyuan crystals left. If I give you 10, it will not be enough. The same thing happened in the Black Mountain area again, but this time, it was a peak level late Sea of Souls realm warrior. Sorry, you have to hand it in. Hurry up. The tough king's follower did not care about the other's feelings at all. That peak level late Sea of Souls realm warrior bit on his teeth, and still handed in 10 Zhenyuan crystals. It turned out that he had just managed to break through from peak level mid Sea of Souls realm to late Sea of Souls realm this month, and he had used a couple of Zhenyuan crystals. Then, he reached the peak level from late Sea of Souls realm, and he had used a lot of them as well. Hey, you two, come over and hand in the Zhenyuan crystals. 10 for each of you. Putting away the Zhenyuan crystals that he had just received, the tough king's follower noticed Yi Chen. Yi Chen was not surprised at all. Every month from the end of the month to the beginning of the month, it was the time for the dark power parties to collect the Zhenyuan crystals. After all, there were thousands of people in a district, so it would take a couple of days to collect them. Let your tough king come talk to me, Yi Chen said calmly. Chapter 762. Who do you think you are? Do you think the tough king is someone you can see whenever you want? The warriors of the tough king surrounded them, led by that creepy long-haired middle-aged man. Asking you to go see the tough king is for your own good. After so many days, Yi Chen had pretty much figured out the situation in the Black Mountain area. This tough king might not be the most powerful warrior on the number 3 Devouring Island, but he was indeed the most brutal one. Otherwise, he would not have collected so many Zhenyuan crystals. Brat, You are looking for death. Seeing Yi Chun being this arrogant, the warriors of the tough king, who were used to being aggressive, could not handle it anymore. Shoo! Shoo! 4 Late Sea of Souls Realm warriors jumped out, attacking toward Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing together. Yi Chun did not even need to take out his sword. He just threw out a sword finger attack. Pooh! 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 Even if it was only one sword finger attack, it was still not something the 4 could handle. They were all blown away like broken bags. Impressive! Kill these bastards who eat people without spitting out their bones. Within this short period of time, a lot of people had already surrounded them. Seeing that Yi Chun was only at peak level Late Sea of Souls realm, but could beat 4 warriors of the tough king with one attack, they could not be happier. Brat, no wonder you are so arrogant. You do have some tricks up your sleeves. The creepy middle-aged man squinted his eyes, a cold light flashing in his eyes. He waved his hand, signaling all of his warriors to attack. Kill. Die. To be able to be the warriors of the tough king, they had to be at least Mid-Sea of Souls realm. Dozens of warriors with Mid-Sea of Souls realm and above jumped toward Yi Chun. Their killing intense. Unfortunately, Yi Chun's power was way below his, and he was the kind of warrior who could fight beyond his realm. Therefore, the result was already decided from the very beginning. Seeing his warriors being blown away while puking out blood, the middle-aged man finally lost his cool. His body flashed once as he threw out a claw attack toward Yi Chun's head. That sharp claw power seemed like it was going to scratch through Yi Chun's head and body. That kind of power was not something normal people could compete with. Chi. The cold-looking middle-aged man's attack was fast, but Yi Chun's attack was even faster. His arm moved, and his sword finger pressed against the cold-looking middle-aged man's neck. The cyan finger light flickered, and as long as the cold-looking middle-aged man moved a little closer, the finger light would immediately pierce through his throat. You didn't die because the rules here don't allow it, and also because I want you to bring a message. Yi Chun sneered. Cold sweat appeared on the middle-aged man's forehead. Yi Chun's attacking speed was way too fast, and he did not even see how Yi Chun attacked. It was not until he felt a slight chill on his throat that he realized that Yi Chun had already attacked. If it were not for him stopping his body in time, he would have been killed on the spot. Of course, even if the cold-looking middle-aged man wanted to die, Yi Chun wouldn't let him die by his hands. He wasn't that stupid. Withdrawing his sword fingers, Yi Chun said, "Let the tough king talk to me. You'll regret this." The eerie middle-aged man took a deep breath and said slowly as he hurriedly retreated a dozen steps. That would depend on whether the tough king is capable enough. Yi Chun's tone was indifferent. Let's go. The middle-aged man brought his wounded warriors and left. The cave that the tough king was staying in was huge. There were no other caves within 300 meters of it. Inside the living room, the tough king looked at the middle-aged man with a dark expression. You mean, not only is he not going to hand over the Zhen Yuan crystals, he wants to see me? Yes. Besides that, he has also wounded our people. The middle-aged man lowered his head. An evil light flashed in the tough king's eyes. It seems like my title is not cruel enough after all. Even the people in the Black Mountain area don't like me. Bring me over. I will let him know what regret feels like. The Black Mountain area was not that big. Within half a pot of tea's time, the tough king had brought a group of people over. That evil chi had scared a lot of people out of their wits. The tough king is here. I wonder how he is going to handle this. This is so unwise. Our number 3 devouring island only has 20 half-step king warriors. Even if the tough king is not in the top 3, he would at least be in the top 5. Some of the leaders of the dark power groups are only at peak level Late Seas of Souls realm. Perhaps he is one of the martial geniuses from some big power group. He is used to being on top. Everyone started to discuss. Who are you? Tell me your name. Floating in the air, the tough king looked down at Yi Chun and said with a low voice. Yi Chun, you must be the tough king, right? Yi Chun lifted up his head and said lightly. Since you know, why don't you kneel down and beg for mercy? Yi Chun sneered. You do not deserve it. You are looking for death. The warriors that the tough king had brought were furious. Alright, you have guts. But the more guts you have, the more miserable I will make you. Kuei Feng, test him out for me. An evil look flashed through his eyes as the tough king said to the middle-aged man on his left. Yes. The middle-aged man's body flashed. 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 4, 4 turned into 8. All of a sudden, he turned into 8 phantoms that looked both real and fake at the same time, surrounding Yi Chen. Wind profound. No, there is also a hint of shadow profound. Yi Chen was a bit surprised. The middle-aged man's cultivation was the same as his, only peak level late seas of Soul's realm. But, since he was valued by the tough king, then he must have something special about him. Judging from his movement art, it was indeed very powerful. Normally, it would be hard for a movement art to combine different profound, but this man had done it. I have wounded a half-step king warrior before. I hope you can last a little longer. Kuei Feng cracked a smile that was full of cruelty. Being able to wound half-step king warrior. With your cultivation, it is not bad. Yi Chen would not be scared by his words. Not to mention the fact that he could wound half-step king warrior. Even if he could kill him. So what? Are you being arrogant? Or do you have something else to rely on? Kuei Feng was a bit hesitant after seeing Yi Chen's expression. He could wound half-step king warrior with his peak level late seas of Soul's realm cultivation, which meant that his power was way beyond warriors at the same level. Being able to become half-step king warriors meant that they were all extremely talented. But he did not seem to be surprised at all. Kuei Feng, what are you hesitating for? The tough king was getting impatient. Yes. Kuei Feng took a deep breath as his eyes turned sharp. Tornado kill. Shoo. 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 8 shadows seemed to have been activated at the same time, flying around Yi Chen like an extremely powerful tornado, trying to kill Yi Chen. Shoo. 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 The tornado was getting thinner and thinner as Kuei Feng attacked. Once he attacked, cold stars flashed everywhere, and the whole tornado seemed to be spinning like a blade. Being in the middle of the tornado, Yi Chen looked calm as he lifted up his right sword finger and pointed it out. Chin. As the sparks flew everywhere, a beam of cold light flew out of the tornado. Then the tornado stopped. What? Kuei Feng lost? When the tornado stopped, everyone was dumbfounded. In the field, Kuei Feng's right hand was bleeding as it was held there stiffly. On the other hand, Yi Chen did not even change his posture. He had only lifted up one of his hands and pointed his sword finger at Kuei Feng's forehead. One could vaguely see that sharp sword-like finger light. How is this possible? Not only did the others not believe it, even Kuei Feng himself could not believe it. While moving at a high speed, 8 of him attacked at the same time. He thought that he would be able to beat Yi Chen with one attack. However, he did not expect that not only could Yi Chen tell his real body, but he had also knocked away the short blade in his hand with one finger. No matter if it was observation, attacking power, or accuracy, Yi Chen was a few times better than him. Beating Kuei Feng with one attack? Could it be that he had trained some kind of secret skill? The tough king did not think that Kuei Feng would be able to beat Yi Chen. He only wanted to test out Yi Chen's power. However, he did not expect that Kuei Feng would be defeated in one attack. Of course, this did not mean that Yi Chen's power was much more powerful than Kuei Feng's. It could only mean that Yi Chen's fighting skills were way better than Kuei Feng's. However, when the power gap was too big, no matter how good one's skills were, it would be useless. With good skills, could he break through the defense? With good skills, could he dodge the ultimate attack? Neither. Only when the power gap was not that big would it be useful. Impressive. But your good luck ends here. The tough king jumped into the air and threw out a punch at Yi Chen. That punch was thrown out like a shooting star, but it was also like lava. It made people feel like they were facing a disaster. This tough king's power is almost the same as Qing Lu Sr. Yi Chen could tell with one glance that the martial art that the tough king had performed contained the fire and earth profound. Of course, the combination of the fire and earth profound would have different effects for different people. Boom. Yi Chen still did not take out his sword. He pointed out with his sword finger, and a thunderball was formed. It attacked towards the tough king, exploding with an extremely hot and violent chi flow. He blocked it. The tough king did not believe it. His fists were like a shooting star shower as they attacked towards Yi Chen. Each punch was fiercer than the previous one. He did not believe that Yi Chen would be able to handle it. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of chi clashing continued. The mud on the island had been scraped open, but Yi Chen did not back out even half a step. It is my turn now. Chen. Yi Chen took out his thunder disaster sword. The sword light flashed once before stabbing out. Too fast. I cannot dodge it. The tough king was shocked. He realized that no matter how hard he tried to dodge, he could not avoid that sword attack. It was indeed unbelievably fast. It was indeed Yi Chen's spiritual sword attack. Once it was performed, even top half-step king warriors would not be able to dodge it. Even if I cannot dodge it, so what? Break through my protective Zhen Yuan first. The tough king screamed in his mind. Shoo! The spiritual sword attack was not only fast, but its attacking power was also horrifying. It had only paused for a second before it pierced through the tough king's protective Zhen Yuan and landed heavily on his chest. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, the semi-extreme rank great armor on the tough king's chest was slightly twisted. He then puked out a mouthful of blood as he was blown backward with a pale face. Even the tough king has lost. Who is this guy? People in the Black Mountain area had seen way too many confident people, but all of them had been beaten by the tough king without exception. The appearance of Yi Chen was like the sun after the rain, tearing apart the clouds and shining down. This Black Mountain area is going to change soon. A lot of people thought to themselves. Take out all of their storage rings. Yi Chen was not a good person, and he wanted to leave the devouring island as well. Naturally, he would not show any mercy to these dark power groups. So, he asked Morong Qingqing to take out all of their storage rings. Don't push it too far. The tough king's followers were shocked, but they still tried to sound tough. Yi Chen said, don't force me. Although you can't kill people on the devouring island, it doesn't say that you can't cripple people. If I cut off one of your arms, you can still make Zhen Yuan crystals. So don't force me. Chapter 763. Morong Qingqing went to get the storage rings of the tough king's followers. As for the tough king, Yi Chen would take care of him. Brat, if you do not want to die, I suggest you not to even think about Zhen Yuan crystals. It is not like this has never happened before. There have been people who were more powerful than you before. But as long as they thought about Zhen Yuan crystals, none of them would have a good ending. The tough king said with a cold tone. Are you trying to scare me? Yi Chen smiled lightly, his eyes sharp like blades. Feeling the intense killing intent coming from Yi Chen, the tough king did not dare to be too arrogant. He said, I am not trying to scare you, but only a small part of the Zhen Yuan crystals that we collect belong to us. Most of them have to be handed over. As for who to hand over to, you should be clear about it. The tough king was one of the top 5 warriors on the number 3 devouring island. So the Zhen Yuan crystals he collected were divided in a ratio of 20 to 80. 20% would go to the tough king's power, and 80% to the Blackwater Alliance. For example, the Black Mountain region could collect about 2,400 Zhen Yuan crystals every month. So 20% would be 480 crystals, which was not a small amount. For some of the weaker regions, the ratio would be 10 to 90%, or 5 to 95%. This month, the tough king had already collected a lot of Zhen Yuan crystals. If all of them were taken by Yi Chen, then he would not be able to hand over 80% of them to the Blackwater Alliance. Then, the Blackwater Alliance would definitely come to Yi Chen. Don't worry, I will talk to the Blackwater Alliance. How could Yi Chen not think of that? Although he knew that the tough king was the leader of the underground power in the Black Mountain region, and that he would have a lot of Zhen Yuan crystals, when Yi Chen opened the tough king's storage ring, he was still shocked. The tough king's Zhen Yuan crystals filled up a small box. Roughly speaking, there should be no less than 5,000 of them. On the Crystal Island, 5,000 low-rank Zhen Yuan crystals were equivalent to 500 million top-rank soul stones. The tough king's face was extremely ugly. There were a total of 5,400 Zhen Yuan crystals in the box, and only 600 of them had just been collected. The The remaining 4,800 were his own. And these 4,800 were his own. These 4,800 were his own. And these 4,800 were his own. On the Devouring Island, half-step king warriors would have to hand in 100 Jin Yuan crystals per month, and half-step king warriors would be able to make around 130 to 140 crystals per month. The tough king was the average 140. Of the 140 crystals, 100 would have to hand in, and the remaining 40 would have to give 30 to the Blackwater Alliance. In other words, even if he did not train and did not collect Zhen Yuan crystals, he would only be able to save 10 of them per month. Since he was the leader of the dark power in the Black Mountain region, he had a lot of extra income. 80% of the Zhen Yuan crystals that he collected would go to the Black Mountain Alliance, and 20% to his power. As the leader, he would naturally get the biggest share. In other words, it would take the tough king 4 years to save 4,800 Jin Yuan crystals. If he used Zhen Yuan crystals to train, it would probably take him 5 to 6 years. Don't say that I didn't give you a way out. I'll leave you 100 Zhen Yuan crystals. Taking out the box, Yi Chen left 100 Zhen Yuan crystals inside. How many Zhen Yuan crystals do you have? On the way, Yi Chen asked Morong Qingcheng. Morong Qingcheng said, most of them are with the tough king, plus some Zhen Yuan crystals that I left for them. There are only 800 of them. That is not bad. Many a little makes a mickle. Yi Chen was very satisfied. Then what should we do next? The Blackwater Alliance will probably come for us soon. Yi Chen said, if we rely on ourselves, it will take at least 50 years before we have the chance to leave the Devouring Island. You and I both cannot wait that long. As for becoming a life and death realm warrior, there are too many unknowns. So we have to do something unusual. These dark power parties would be a good choice. You plan to take them all out? Why not? Yi Chen was not the kind of person who would follow the rules. He knew that the rules were made to be broken. If he did not think it was necessary, he could just ignore it. Where does the Claw Shadow King live? Arriving at the Black Plain area next to the Black Mountain area, Yi Chen grabbed onto a Sea of Souls realm warrior and asked. 8 miles in that direction. The warrior had been grabbed by Yi Chen and could not move at all, so he said hurriedly, thank you. Yi Chen let go of him. The leader of the dark power in the Black Plain area was called the Claw Shadow King. According to the rumors, he was a lot weaker than the tough king. Arriving at the place where the Claw Shadow King lived, Yi Chen did not waste any time and threw out a punch. Boom! The ground shook as dust rose up everywhere. Who was looking for death? A human figure flew out. What welcomed him was a cold sword light. With a flash, the Claw Shadow King's whole body was blown away, puking out a huge amount of blood. With such a huge commotion, it was impossible for the warriors of the Claw Shadow King to not know about it. But, before they could even see what was happening clearly, they could only see layers of black shadows in front of their eyes as they were blown away. Only then did they see that it was an extremely beautiful lady with black wings on her back who had attacked them. Who are these two? They are like my idols. They beat up the Claw Shadow King and his warriors so badly that they did not even dare to let out a fart. Waiting until Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing had left, everyone who had seen this scene was shocked. They could not help but admire them. How much? Yi Chen asked Morong Qingqing how many Zhen Yuan crystals she had as usual. 650. Not bad, I have 3,800. There were 30 regions on the number 3 Devouring Island. With the Black Mountain region as the center, the other 20 or so regions had all been cleaned out by Yi Chen, leaving only a couple of big regions. After cleaning out more than 20 dark power parties, Yi Chen had already gotten 50,000 Zhen Yuan crystals. If it were him alone, he would be able to give all the Zhen Yuan crystals to the Holy Spirit and leave the Devouring Island. But that was if the Holy Spirit did not lie to them. 52,100 Zhen Yuan crystals in total. Morong Qingqing had just finished counting. There are still 3 regions left. The Yellow Sand region and Iron Mountain region are nothing to worry about. But that explosive Fire King from the Blue Water region is a bit tricky. For Yi Chen to say it was tricky, it meant that he was at least at the top half-step King Warrior level. Yeah, according to the rumors, he was already a top half-step king warrior when he first came to the Devouring Island. He has been here for more than 10 years, so it is impossible that he did not improve at all. Besides that, he is also one of the earliest dark power parties on the island. If it were not for the Blackwater Alliance not wanting him to expand, he might have already taken over the number 3 Devouring Island. It is indeed tricky, but my luck should not be that bad. What Yi Chen was worried about was that the Explosive Fire King was already a top half-step king warrior. Although there was no freedom on the Devouring Island, there were plenty of Zhenyuan crystals, especially for the leaders of these dark power parties. They would not lack Zhenyuan crystals at all. Although Yi Chen's cultivation had reached peak level late seas of Soul's realm, and his power had improved a little, there was still some distance between him and the top half-step king warrior. The top half-step king warrior does not seem to be that easy to reach. Talent and comprehensive ability are very important. Morong Qingqing was not too worried about it. Hearing her, Yi Chen felt that it was reasonable. Let's not worry about this for now. Let's take care of the other 2 regions first. Outside of the Iron Mountain region, Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing had already found out where the Explosive Fire King was staying, and were on their way there. Yi Chen laughed. The main district is indeed the main district. The 2 dark power parties had already given us 15,000 Zhenyuan crystals. I wonder how many Zhenyuan crystals this Explosive Fire King has? Hee. This is the first time I have done this kind of robbing thing. The law of the jungle is the law of the jungle. Instead of being the one who follows the law, I would rather be the one who dominates the law, although only in a small area. Although Yi Chen was usually very gentle and polite, and in a peaceful world, he would be a well-educated person. But before he came to this world, he had always been the one who liked to take the initiative. He would not cause trouble, and he was not afraid of trouble either. There was a kind of iron blood aura in his bones, which was also why he could adapt to the true spirit continent so quickly. Morong Qingqing knew Yi Chen very well. Since the first time she had seen him, she had felt that there was something different about him. But she had never been able to figure out what was different. As the 2 spent more time together, she gradually realized that Yi Chen was the kind of person who could adapt to any environment. He was like a blade of grass that looked very low-key, not as beautiful as a flower, but more tenacious than a flower. He was like a great sword that was usually hidden, but when the time was right, he would cut the throat with a sword. Even if he was put in a place that was 10 times worse, he would still be able to live well. The stars were not as bright as the sun and the moon, but when you were in the universe, you would realize that this star was way bigger than the sun and the moon. Who is it? The Iron Valley district was the biggest district on the number 3 Devouring Island, and its population was a couple times more than the Black Mountain area. Yi Chen and Morong Qingqing's flying route was too direct, which immediately attracted the attention of the Explosive Fire King's followers. People who are looking for the Explosive Fire King. Morong Qingqing's speed exploded. She flapped her wings and flew like a ghost. The followers of the Explosive Fire King all puked out blood as they were blown away. Get down here. A blue shadow jumped up and threw out a blade light toward Morong Qingqing. Morong Qingqing's power was not weaker than normal half-step king warrior. She threw out a hand blade attack as well, and a black blade light spread out. Boom! The chi flow spread out in all directions, and the warrior was forced back. Both of his feet had sunk deep into the mud, creating a huge pit. Powerful warrior. The warrior who had attacked Morong Qingqing was the top warrior of the Explosive Fire King. He had been on the Devouring Island for many years, and he had already reached the half-step king warrior level. Since there were a lot of people in the Iron Valley district, following the Explosive Fire King would be much better than trying to start a new gang. Plus, the Explosive Fire King was the most powerful warrior out there, so even the Blackwater Alliance did not want to pressure him too much. Therefore, he had been staying in the Iron Valley district all this time, and had never thought about becoming the leader of any of the dark power groups. He thought that with his power, it would not be a problem for him to take on Morong Qingqing. He did not expect that he would be at a disadvantage after only one attack. Iron 6, Who is causing trouble here? In the mountain in front of Yi Chun, a flame was moving around, and a voice was heard. It was a very calm voice, but it gave people the pressure of a volcano that was about to explode. Boss, you better come out. Iron 6 felt that he would not be able to take down the two. Boom. Just as Iron 6 finished his sentence, the mountain shook a little, and a beam of flame shot out from the top of the mountain. It was almost a flash before it arrived right next to Iron 6. Chapter 764. Such a fast speed. Morong Qingqing squeezed her eyes. She could feel that the explosive Fire King's speed was not because of his powerful Jin Yuan, but because of his usage of the profound sense. He could use 10% of the pushing force to increase his speed by 20% or even 30%. Who are you? The explosive Fire King studied Yi Chun, and Morong Qingqing as a light flame shone on his body. Is the name that important? Yi Chun was also studying the explosive Fire King. His cultivation was undoubtedly at half-step king warrior level. But compared to the tough king, the explosive Fire King's Zhen Yuan was more solid, as if there was a volcano compressed inside his body. Before he even arrived, it was already hard to breathe. Yi Chun estimated that the explosive Fire King's Zhen Yuan was at least 3 times more than the tough king's. Not counting the purity, it would be more than 10 times more than Yi Chen's. This person's cultivation is almost at the Thunder Spirit King's level. I wonder how powerful he is. Cultivation was still cultivation. If one did not have enough profound sense, the power gap would still be huge. I do not care who you are. Since you have come to the Iron Valley district, then don't leave. Or, you can choose to be my subordinates. Morong Qingqing was able to beat down Iron 6 with one attack, so she must be very powerful. Although Yi Chun had not attacked yet, with the explosive Fire King's eyes, he could naturally tell that Yi Chen's threat was even more powerful than Morong Qingqing's. Being your subordinate will depend on whether or not you have the power to do so. Morong Qingqing said. The explosive Fire King said. A couple of days ago, there was also a young man and woman who came to challenge me. But right now, I have locked them up in the Iron Valley prison. That young man is quite powerful. At such a young age, he already has top half-step king warrior battling power. Do you think your battling power is even more powerful than him? You will know after you try. Yi Chun did not even need to guess to know that the young man and woman were Dongfang Hao and Meng Xiaoling. Dongfang Hao is very powerful, and since even he was not the explosive Fire King's opponent, then the latter's power must be horrifying. But this was exactly what Yi Chun wanted. Those half-step king warriors before him were too weak, and he had not even used 1/3 of his power. Looks like you're very confident. The explosive Fire King wanted to test it out, but seeing that Yi Chun did not do anything, he thought to himself. He did not think that Yi Chun would be able to bring out that much battling power with his peak level late seas of Soul's Realm cultivation. Boss, don't be careless. Iron 6 had seen the great battle a couple of days ago. He could tell that the explosive Fire King had already used 90% of his power to fight against Dongfang Hao. Don't worry. The explosive Flame King waved his hand. There is a limit to my patience. A couple of days ago, I gave them a chance and only put them in jail for 3 months. However, you guys will not be so lucky. Otherwise, everyone would think that I, the explosive Fire King, am easy to talk to. The explosive Fire King was a bit depressed as well. He had just defeated Yi Chun a couple of days ago, and now there was another Yi Chun. Did they all think that he, the explosive Fire King, was easy to bully? Of course. He did not know that Yi Chun had already swept the 3rd devouring island, and he was the only one left. Chin. Yi Chun did not say much as he slowly took out his Thunder Disaster Sword. A crystal-like lightning flashed once on the sword blade, and the air was sliced open without a sound. Take this. Holding the sword in his right hand, Yi Chun threw out a sword attack. Woo! 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 The dark gold pattern tore open the sky. The space between the two seemed to have turned into a peaceful lake. Meanwhile, the attack that Yi Chun had thrown out was like a huge rock thrown into the lake, bringing up a powerful pattern and attacking toward the explosive Fire King, who was not far away. Not bad. The explosive Fire King did not dare to slow down. A dark red massive iron hammer appeared in his hand. Flames were burning on the surface of the hammer, shining brightly. He threw out a hammer attack toward the center of the pattern. Boom! 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 The Iron Valley area was full of mountains, but once the two exchanged attacks, a huge part of the mountains started to collapse. It was like the sky was falling. Could it be the explosive fire profound? In the first exchange of attacks, Yi Chen had realized that the explosive fire king's fire profound was very different from the others. If the pure fire profound was just burning, then the explosive fire king's fire profound was like thunder, exploding crazily. Yi Chen's guess was right. The explosive fire king had indeed learned the explosive fire profound. The explosive fire profound was actually a fire profound as well. However, because it had abandoned the soft part of the fire profound and increased its attacking power, the explosive fire profound was even more destructive than the fire profound. In terms of attacking power, it was undoubtedly more powerful than the normal fire profound. Of course, it did not mean that the explosive fire profound was better than the normal fire profound. Everything in the world had its own reason for existing. The soft part of the fire profound was not useless. In other words, the fire profound was also divided into yin and yang, and the explosive fire profound was more masculine. Metal and water combined profound, and this sword intent? The explosive fire king was shocked as well. Yi Chen's gold pattern contained both the metal profound and the water profound. The combination of the two profounds would complement each other, and the degree of integration would be very high. However, Yi Chen's sword intent was obviously more powerful, which made the explosive fire king even more cautious. 9 layers of fire ocean. The explosive fire king had learned the explosive fire profound, so he liked to be the main attacker in battles. After blocking out Yi Chen's attack with one attack, he quickly started his counterattack. The dark red iron hammer vibrated 9 times in the air, and 9 layers of exploding fire waves overlapped together, attacking towards Yi Chen. Pop! 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 The space was twisting. The power of the 9 layers of fire waves was unbelievably powerful. The entire space seemed like it could not handle it anymore. Impressive! After Yi Chen waved out that sword attack, he had already lifted up his Thunder Disaster Sword again. At the tip of the sword, a black thunder ball appeared quickly, spinning and expanding at an extremely fast speed. By the time the explosive fire king started his counterattack, the size of the thunder ball had already exceeded its previous size. It was dozens of meters in diameter, and the black thunder light had even darkened the sky. At first glance, it looked like a black sun, vast and horrifying. Go! Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. Shoo! The huge black thunder ball flew out agilely, bouncing around like a star, chasing after the moon and the stars. It seemed like the stars were moving, breaking through the limitation of the space. Dong! In the next instant, the black ball of lightning collided with the 9 layers of fire waves, and a deafening sound erupted. This kind of vibration was not much weaker than a meteor crashing into the ground. Circles of spatial ripples swept in all directions, and the heavenly lightning stirred up the earth fire. 13 layers of waves. The power of the explosive fire king was not just for show. It was the real deal. He tore apart the shockwave and flew towards Yi Chen. The iron hammer in his hand kept waving in the air, throwing out layers and layers of fire ocean. With the power of the fire waves, his speed became faster and faster, attacking towards Yi Chen. Boom! 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 Yi Chen's expression did not change. He waved his Thunder Disaster Sword casually, and a circle of dark gold pattern appeared, blocking out the incoming fire ocean. In a blink of an eye, Yi Chen waved out 13 sword attacks. 13 circles of pattern appeared with him as the center, quietly blooming, looking extremely beautiful and powerful. With his shocking speed, the explosive fire king surrounded Yi Chen and attacked him, like a blacksmith who was forging an extremely hard metal. Unfortunately, Yi Chen's metal was just too hard, not giving any face to the explosive fire king at all. No matter how much power the explosive fire king used, he could not break in at all. It was just a waste of energy. Explosive fire shock. Finally, the explosive Fire King used his ace attack, throwing out a hammer attack. As this hammer attack was thrown out, the space in front of him twisted drastically. The rolling fire wave was like a sound wave, vibrating crazily. In the past, the explosive Fire King had used this attack to kill countless half-step king warriors. Even if it were other half-step king warriors at the same level, they would have to avoid it. Boom! The fire wave rushed out, and Yi Chen was blown away dozens of miles, bringing up a trail of sparks on his body. Under this attack of mine, you should have suffered a very serious internal injury. This kind of internal injury would not be healed in a short period of time. The explosive Fire King knew the power of the explosive fire shock very well. He did not think that Yi Chen would be able to survive it, unless he was wearing a pseudo-extreme rank armor. But pseudo-extreme rank armors were just too rare, and not everyone had one. Yi Chen indeed had a pseudo-extreme rank armor, which was the bronze armor he got from the Iron Hand King. However, he did not activate it. Although the explosive Fire King's explosive fire shock had an unbelievable destructive power, it would not be able to wound him at all. It would already be impressive if it could make him back out dozens of miles. What a powerful ace attack! Yi Chen stopped and said with a smile, "You are not hurt." The explosive Fire King frowned. Yi Chen waved his arm. The dragon bone defense layer on his skin had disappeared, and his muscles were a bit sore. Just then, besides not using his most powerful ace attack, he had already used all of his power. Even so, the explosive fire shock had still damaged some of his internal organs. But Yi Chen had the undying body, so all of those organs had been healed within a second. So powerful, he could even take on the boss explosive fire shock without being hurt at all. Iron 6 opened his mouth wide, looking very shocked. Everyone in the Iron Valley area was also shocked. They had been living in the Iron Valley area for so many years, and they had never seen anyone push the explosive Fire King to this extent. "I have seen your explosive fire shock. Now I will show you my waning moon." If it were not for the fact that he wanted to know more about the explosive Fire King's level and his own power, Yi Chen would not have bothered with him until now. Now it was time to end it. Bring it on. The explosive Fire King was ready to fight, his eyes staring at Yi Chen without blinking. The smile on the corner of Yi Chen's mouth disappeared. His palm held the Thunder Disaster sword neither too lightly nor too heavily, as he threw out a sword attack. It was as smooth as flowing water. Not good. The explosive Fire King's eyes widened. In his sight, the sky and the ground had completely disappeared. There was only a crescent moon-like black sword power breaking through the air. The black sword power was getting bigger and bigger. Even his sight could not contain it. That kind of feeling was like he was in the middle of a starry sky, watching a broken planet flying towards him. Boom! The black sword power had messed up the explosive Fire King's sense of time. He had only just lifted up his hand when he felt like his body had been struck by lightning. He was blown backward, blood spraying out of his mouth. Crack! That sword attack had not only blown away the explosive Fire King, it had also split the mountains below him into two halves. All of the mountains had been squeezed to the sides, and the rumbling sound was still there. Chapter 765. My Cave. On the Devouring Island, there were not many places where one could build a cave. It was impossible to build one on a flat land. Therefore, mountains and hills were all good places to build one. The Iron Valley area was the biggest area of the number 3 Devouring Island, so it had the most mountains and caves. Before, the battle between Yi Chen and the explosive Fire King had already destroyed a lot of caves. And now it was even worse. More than 30% of the caves in the Iron Valley area had been destroyed. The good thing was that the commotion outside was too loud, so most of the people had already left the caves. So there should not be any deaths. Looking at the mountain area that had been completely destroyed, everyone wanted to cry but had no tears. Of course, compared to the caves being destroyed, Yi Chen's power had shocked them 100 times more. Who was the explosive Fire King? He was the top half-step king warrior on the number 3 Devouring Island. Even the Blackwater Alliance did not want to pressure him too much, so they had given him some special privileges. Out of the 30 regions, Only the Iron Valley area had the highest dark power distribution, which was 30 to 70 with the Blackwater Alliance. Pooh! The power of the crescent-shaped sword power was too powerful, and it was extremely powerful as well. The explosive Fire King felt like all of his organs were about to be squeezed out of his mouth as blood kept on puking out. In the end, the explosive Fire King only managed to stop after he had smashed through 4 mountains of the devouring island. However, his battling power had probably been reduced by 80 to 90%. With one sword attack, the explosive Fire King had lost badly. The waning moon is indeed powerful. After reaching peak level late seas of Soul's realm, it was the first time Yi Chun had performed the waning moon, and the result was very satisfying. Even a top half-step king warrior, like the explosive Fire King, could not fight back at all. If it were not for the fact that Yi Chun did not want to kill the explosive Fire King, he might not be able to survive. Even so, the power of the waning moon was still a bit out of Yi Chun's expectation. But after thinking about it, he felt that it was reasonable. Among all of Yi Chun's profound sense martial arts, the waning moon was already the most mysterious one. It contained 80% of the gold profound and 60% of the water profound. Once the two profound were combined, it would not be as simple as 1 plus 1. It would be multiplied. In other words, even among the high-rank profound sense martial arts, the waning moon would be one of the top ones. Boss lost. Iron Six's face was pale. Yi Chun's strength was unimaginably strong. He had no way to calm down. Furthermore, Yi Chun looked so young. From his appearance, he looked to be in his early 20s. His real age was probably no older than 30. Let's go collect the Zhenyuan crystals. Without much hesitation, Yi Chun asked Morong Qingqing to gather up the warriors of the explosive Fire King. He believed that he had defeated the explosive Fire King with one sword attack, which should be enough of a deterrent. If there were really some people who did not have eyes, then they must be stupid. The Iron Valley zone was indeed the #1 zone of the third devouring island. The amount of Zhenyuan crystals they collected was several times that of the other dark forces. The explosive Fire King's followers had contributed 3,000 Zhenyuan crystals, and the explosive Fire King himself had contributed 20,000 Zhenyuan crystals. Altogether, it was 23,000 Zhenyuan crystals, adding with the 67,000 Zhenyuan crystals that he had gotten before. The total was just over 100,000 Zhenyuan crystals, which was more than enough for Yi Chun and Morong Qingqing to leave. Of course, Yi Chun did not plan to leave just yet. The devouring island was something that could only be found by luck. In there, one could create their own Zhenyuan crystals. One Zhenyuan crystal would be worth 100,000 top-rank soul stones on the Crystal Island, which was very shocking. If it were somewhere else, one could even be worth 200,000. Therefore, Yi Chun planned to get enough Zhenyuan crystals here. He would not only need to prepare himself to become a half-step king warrior, but also to become a life and death realm warrior. Unfortunately, the Zhenyuan crystals would not work for Morong Qingqing. What Morong Qingqing needed were demon power crystals, which were extremely rare in Elysium. Besides Morong Qingqing, there was no one else who trained demon power, which meant that Morong Qingqing would have to rely on herself. For the sake of Morong Qingqing, Yi Chun decided to stay on the devouring island for a while longer, so that Morong Qingqing could make more demon power crystals. With Morong Qingqing's power, she could make more than 100 demon power crystals in a month, which would be close to 500 in 4 months. 500 demon power crystals should be enough for Morong Qingqing to train to the life and death realm. As for after that, she would have more choices, and it would not be limited to demon power crystals. It's him. Dongfang Hao and Meng Xiaoling left the Iron Mountain District Prison and mixed in with the crowd. In fact, the Iron Mountain District Prison would not be able to hold them at all. But they did not dare to leave, because once they did, they would definitely anger the explosive Fire King. Therefore, no matter if they were willing or not, they would still choose to stay in the prison for 3 months. Right then, a huge part of the mountain had been destroyed. Dongfang Hao and Meng Xiaoling flew out of the broken prison. Seeing that it was Yi Chun who had beaten the explosive Fire King, they had mixed feelings. Ever since they first met Yi Chen, they had not taken Yi Chen seriously at all. But as time went on, Yi Chen's power, whether intentionally or unintentionally, had increased their evaluation of Yi Chen. It was not until Yi Chen had killed Tu the Third that they finally realized that Yi Chen was not a sheep, but a wolf in sheep's clothing. Pissing him off would result in a brutal counterattack. However, Dongfang Hao was not easy to deal with either. Although Yi Chen had killed Tu the Third, he did not think that Yi Chen was more powerful than him. However, right then Yi Chen, who had beaten the explosive Fire King, had already proved that he was more powerful than Dongfang Hao, so he could not argue back. Damn it! Dongfang Hao clenched his fists tightly. Brother Hao, let's not mess with him in the future. Meng Xiaoling turned her head subconsciously. Seeing Dongfang Hao's unwilling expression, she hurried to say. Dongfang Hao said fiercely, "You mean, I can't catch up to him?" "No, that's not what I meant. We don't have any big grudges with them." This was what Meng Xiaoling wanted to say. Dongfang Hao was in his 30s, and Yi Chen looked much younger than Yi Chen. Whether it was talent or comprehension, Dongfang Hao was weaker than Yi Chen. Even if Dongfang Hao could improve, how could Yi Chen not? It was not an exaggeration to say that Yi Chen was still in a period of rapid development, while Dongfang Hao had already stabilized. The possibility of him improving by leaps and bounds was very low. Dongfang Hao suddenly waved his sleeves, hiding the unwillingness in his eyes. Looking at the void in the north, Yi Chen seemed to have found something. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen turned to Murong Qingqing and said, "Go to the fourth devouring island." The third devouring island had contributed a total of 100,000 Jin Yuan crystals. Even if the fourth island was not that good, it would not be that bad. Right now, the dark forces on the fourth island still had no idea that they were about to face a disaster. At the center of the first devouring island was a huge mountain that reached into the clouds. On it stood a magnificent palace, looking extremely majestic. A voice came from the palace on the peak. "You're saying that you were robbed by a man and a woman?" Sitting in the main seat was a middle-aged man wearing black clothes with golden threads. He was the manager of the Black Water Alliance stationed on the island, and was called Sima Zongwen. "Yes, that youngster is very strong. We couldn't even take one sword strike from him." Below him stood more than 20 people. The tough king was at the front, and behind him were the leaders of the third devouring island. "Couldn't even take one sword strike." Sima Zongwen lowered his eyelids. According to the narration of the leaders, he had more or less understood Yi Chen's strength. If he guessed correctly, the latter was definitely a peak half-step king. As for what level, he did not have enough information. Shwa! Shwa! Another two figures flew over and entered the palace. What? It's Clearwater King and Yellow Sand King. Everyone recognized them as the Jadewater King of the Jadewater District and the Yellow Sand King of the Yellow Sand District. These two were the top three figures of the third devouring island. "You guys were robbed as well." Sima Zongwen frowned. The pale-faced Clearwater King glanced at everyone and said with a bitter smile, "Indeed, that youngster is too powerful. Since you guys have all been beaten, then he should have gone to the Iron Valley region. Let's wait a bit longer." Sima Zongwen did not say anything. The strongest warrior on the third devouring island was the explosive Fire King. If he did not come after a long time, it meant that Yi Chen had already been beaten. If he came as well, then things would not be so good. About half a cup of tea's time had passed. Shwa! A human figure flew up the mountain and appeared in the palace. Explosive Fire King. Everyone gasped. They did not think that the explosive Fire King was here to show off that he had beaten Yi Chen. The result was obvious. He had also lost. "You don't need to say anything." Sima Zongwen looked at the explosive Fire King's complexion and knew that he had lost. Plus, he was quite heavily injured, and his chi was extremely weak. Waving his hand, Sima Zongwen said, "You all leave. From now on, my Blackwater Alliance will take over this." Yes, the tough king and the rest left. The explosive Fire King was a bit depressed. He had just realized that he was not the only one who had been robbed. All the other black power parties on the third devouring island had been robbed as well. This youngster must have eaten a leopard's guts. Doesn't he know that the strongest power on the island is not the Black Power parties, but the Blackwater Alliance? Yi Chen still did not know that he had caused this scene in the palace. But even if he knew, he would not care. Ever since he robbed the tough king, he had never planned to live peacefully with the Blackwater Alliance. Between the two of them, there would be a winner. On the fourth devouring island, many of the leaders of the Black Power parties wanted to cry. Just now, all of their Zhenyuan crystals had been robbed. The other side was still fine, as he had kept the Zhenyuan crystals they had made this month, so they would not be punished by the Holy Spirit. But all of their belongings had been robbed. Even the most generous of people would not be able to take it. The fourth devouring island is still a bit weaker than the third one. The most powerful half-step king warriors are only at the level of the tough king. Yi Chen was a bit disappointed. After robbing the fourth devouring island, the Black Power parties had gotten 75,000 Zhenyuan crystals. Adding the ones from the third island, they had a total of 175,000 crystals. If they were brought out to the outside world, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Even life and death realm warriors would be greedy and try to rob them. Although the Zhenyuan crystals from the fourth devouring island were not as good as the ones from the third island, there was still a piece of good news. On the fourth island, there was a leader of a Black Power party who was actually a dark creature. Although the demonic power he trained was not that pure, the demonic power crystals he made were definitely real. In this way, Morong Qingqing's demonic power crystals had increased by 2,000. Chapter 766. Swish, 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 swish. Above the boundless black ocean, a large number of lights rapidly approached. While Yi Chen was plundering the Black Powers on the fourth devouring island, Blackwater Alliance had already dispatched experts in Yi Chen's direction. Since the distance between the islands wasn't too close, only after Yi Chen had swept through the fourth devouring island did the Blackwater Alliance's experts arrive at the fourth devouring island. Damn! These two don't put my Blackwater Alliance in their eyes at all. Seeing the destruction in front of them, a half-step king beside Sima Zongwen squinted his eyes and said in a deep voice. Sima Zongwen said, "In the past few decades, it's not like there hasn't been someone challenging our Blackwater Alliance's rule. However, not a single one has succeeded. Zongwen, these two certainly know that the Devouring Islands are under our Blackwater Alliance's rule. Since they dared to do this, they might have some tricks up their sleeves. Don't be careless." Another skinny old man warned Sima Zongwen. Sima Zongwen nodded. "I know. Even a lion uses its full strength to capture a rabbit. Don't hold back." Yes, the Blackwater Alliance's experts roared in unison. On the black ocean between the fourth and fifth devouring islands, Yi Chen suddenly stopped and said indifferently, "They're here. This Blackwater Alliance seems to attach great importance to us. They've dispatched all half-step kings." Morong Qingqing also noticed the lights in the distance. Yi Chen said, "Peak Masters won't be of any use. I presume Blackwater Alliance knows this as well. A small group of top master-level warriors could kill normal half-step king warriors and compete with the top warriors among them. But facing a top half-step king warrior, it would be useless. Plus, Yi Chen had defeated the explosive Fire King, which meant that he was one of the top warriors among the top half-step king warriors." Dozens of lights flew over and stopped a few li away from Yi Chen. "State your names," a half-step king roared. "You must be the experts of the Blackwater Alliance. What can I do for you?" Yi Chen asked. Sima Zongwen frowned. "This devouring island is under the rule of my Blackwater Alliance. You ignored the rules here and robbed the Zhenyuan crystals. Why do you think we're looking for you?" "Under your rule." Yi Chen pretended to be surprised. "I really didn't know that." "Kid, don't be arrogant. If you surrender now, we can still spare your life." Some fiery half-step kings couldn't bear Yi Chen's tone and roared. Yi Chen smiled. "I only know that the Devouring Island is ruled by the Holy Spirit. Your Blackwater Alliance has fooled the Holy Spirit and made the people here work for you. Those dark powers are all blood-sucking worms, sucking the blood of the people here. I am doing justice for the heavens by robbing their Zhenyuan crystals." "Doing justice for the heavens, huh?" However, you should also know that the weak are prey to the strong. This is one of the unchanging heavenly laws. Sima Zongwen was expressionless. That's right. The weak are prey to the strong. That will never change. Wherever there are people, there will be conflicts and fights. Between me and you, there is no right or wrong relationship. There is only the strong preying on the weak. Rules were just an excuse. The strong preying on the weak was the true meaning. Well said. Very few people can see through things so thoroughly. Sima Zongwen shook his head. However, you're very stupid. You shouldn't have challenged my Blackwater alliance. Go. Sima Zongwen waved his hand, and dozens of half-step kings behind him pounced forward. The first to attack was a middle-aged fiendish man with withered yellow hair. His palms were like two large palm leaf fans as he chopped toward Yi Chen. Following this palm strike, a huge palm imprint appeared on the surface of the Black Ocean, and a boundless chi energy pressed down like an iron mountain. Following closely behind was a skinny old man beside Sima Zongwen. He sucked in a deep breath, and the surrounding air was suddenly sucked out. As for himself, he turned from skinny to fat, and his face became round like an inflated balloon. With a thunderous roar he punched out. The violent fist energy raised a huge wave on the Black Ocean, looking incomparably frightening. At the same time, fiery energy, overlapping phantoms, dazzling golden blade chi, an indomitable spear light attacked like a torrential storm, not giving Yi Chen the slightest space to dodge. Scram! Yi Chen pulled out the Thunder Calamity sword, and instead of retreating, he charged forward to meet them. He first sent the yellow-haired fiendish man flying with golden ripple, causing the latter to spurt out a few mouthfuls of blood. Then he thrust his sword at the fat old man. The sharp sword chi cut the latter's arm, leaving a bloody wound. Yi Chen then pointed his left index finger at the air, breaking the fiery energy and heavily attacking the opponent. This series of actions was completed in a flash. As for the overlapping phantoms, they all brushed past him, unable to injure him in the slightest. The dazzling golden blade chi was also cut off by his finger, greatly reducing its might. Morong Qingqing wasn't idle either. Her opponent was a spear-wielding half-step king. The two were exchanging blows at high speed, turning into countless afterimages. Only pitch-black arcs of light and spear lights could be seen clashing in the void. This kid's too strong. The fiendish middle-aged fiendish man, who had been sent flying, stabilized his body. He discovered that his internal organs had suffered a certain degree of injury, and his battle power had been reduced. This was still because the opponent was fighting one against many, and couldn't bring out his offensive power to its peak. Otherwise, his injuries would have been 10 times worse. My Empyrean battle body has been broken? The old man recovered his skinny appearance, and was incomparably shocked. After a series of exchanges, more than half of the dozen half-step kings attacking Yi Chen had suffered varying degrees of injuries. Although the remaining few weren't injured, their attacks were also ineffective. 9 swords at the same time. Suddenly, Yi Chen's left hand moved, and a sword flew out from the scabbard on his waist. This was a semi-extreme grade sword. One of the semi-extreme grade swords Yi Chen had obtained from Sky Scorpio King's sword tomb. Its might was even above that of the Thunder Disaster sword, and 2 words were carved on the sword's body. In the past, Yi Chen had never used a semi-extreme grade sword. Firstly, there was no need, and secondly, it was to conceal the sharpness of the sword control art. Afterwards, Yi Chen's various profounds had greatly improved, and the sword control art had suddenly weakened a lot. It couldn't compare to Yi Chen's major profounds. But now, Yi Chen's sword control art had made a lot of progress. From 5 swords simultaneously, it had become 9 swords simultaneously. Adding the fact that the sword he was controlling was a semi-extreme grade sword, the offensive power of the sword control art was no weaker than Gold Ripple, second only to Waning Moon. Chi 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 chi, 9 sword shadows shot out, and 9 half-step kings were sent flying while spurting out blood. A deep cut appeared on their chest armor. Sword control art. Sima Zongwen had been observing Yi Chen's strength the entire time. As long as he could figure out the opponent's strength, he would immediately use his killing move to kill him. Seeing the 9 sword shadows, he couldn't help but blurt out, be it on true spirit continent or in the deep ocean. This sword control art was a lost sword art. He didn't expect to see this legendary sword art in Yi Chen's hands. Of the dozen half-step kings, 9 were heavily injured, and the remaining few weren't in a good state either. On the other hand, Yi Chen's aura was calm, and he seemed to know when to advance or retreat. Back off. Sima Zongwen's face was gloomy. The half-step kings he had brought with him were all experts among half-step kings. He hadn't expected that they wouldn't last more than a few moves against Yi Chen. If he had known this earlier, he would have joined the battle from the very beginning, not giving Yi Chen the opportunity to injure them. This way, Yi Chen's advantage wouldn't be so great. A long staff appeared in his hand. With a stern roar, Sima Zongwen waved the staff. The shining staff shadow was like a star, like a myriad of rays, and like a silver river pouring down, violently attacking Yi Chen. This staff is strange. Yi Chen exclaimed in surprise, and raised his sword in front of him. Clang! Amidst the sound of metal clashing, Yi Chen retreated a few steps. The qi around him surged, and the winds and clouds fluctuated. Faintly a dragon's howl could be heard. Butcher chop! Sima Zongguan swung his staff through the air again. The powerful staff shadow tore open a huge hole in the Black Sea below. It was unfathomably deep. Clang! Yi Chen retreated a few more steps, his blood and qi fluctuating. Worthy of being Sima Zongguan. He's actually suppressing him. The experts of Blackwater Alliance, who had retreated far away, revealed joyous expressions. This shouldn't be strange. Sima Zongguan has long since become a peak half-step king. Adding the replica dragon extermination staff in his hand, ordinary peak half-step kings can't even last 10 moves against him. Dragon extermination staff. Hearing the words of Blackwater Alliance's expert, Yi Chen seemed to be lost in thought. Take another staff strike. Sima Zongguan was overbearing. His staff shadows filled the sky, each strike reaping the life. Just as Blackwater Alliance's expert had said, the staff in Sima Zongguan's hand was a replica of Dragon Extermination Staff. Although Dragon Extermination Staff couldn't compare to a pseudo-supreme grade artifact, it was a top-notch existence among semi-supreme grade artifacts. Moreover, it had a dragon-slaying property. Although it was called dragon-slaying, it actually had a deeper meaning. According to legends, the vitality of dragons was extremely powerful. Moves that could kill a human of the same level couldn't kill a dragon. Since it could slay a dragon, it was naturally easy to slaughter a human. After all, the vitality of a human was several levels lower than that of a dragon. You have Dragon Extermination Staff, and I have Blood-Severing Ghost Finger. Yi Chen raised his left hand's index and middle fingers, and slashed at Sima Zongguan. Rip! A strand of condensed qi and blood was obliterated within Sima Zongguan's body. What? Sima Zongguan was greatly alarmed. He hurriedly raised Dragon Extermination Staff to block Yi Chen's Blood-Severing Ghost Finger. Dragon Extermination Staff and Blood-Severing Ghost Finger seemed to have some similarities. The unblockable power of Blood-Severing Ghost Finger was actually mostly neutralized by Dragon Extermination Staff, and the remaining power was negligible. So that's how it is. Yi Chen had a rough understanding of Dragon Extermination Staff's effect. Dragon Slaying Cut. Sima Zongguan was extremely wary of Yi Chen's Blood-Severing Ghost Finger. The Zhen Yuan in his body surged, and a large part of it poured into Dragon Extermination Staff before slashing down. Woo 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 woo. The staff's shadow, which dimmed the sun and moon, whistled over, faintly carrying the aura of splitting mountains and rivers. Waning moon. Yi Chen raised his sword to meet it, slashing out a black crescent-shaped sword energy. As soon as the sword energy appeared, the sun and moon became even dimmer. Above the Black Sea, the gravity completely disappeared. Vaguely, it was as if a star that was about to shatter had crashed over, destroying everything. Rumble! A semicircle caved in on the Black Sea, and a water pillar shot up into the sky. On the other side of the water pillar, Sima Zongguan spat out a fountain of blood as he flew out with Dragon Extermination Staff in hand. Eventually, he fell into the Black Sea and crashed into the seabed, his fate unknown. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.